am sick of personalized emails. I know it's a hot take because everybody says, you got to personalize. I'm all about the insight-driven outreach rather than personalization. So I wouldn't even call it personalization. We're living this really exciting time where new playbooks are being written. What's most exciting to me about my job is just that feeling of we're building the future. I always tell our founders, you're not selling for the initial close, selling for the renewal.
By the way, you guys, two quick fun facts before we go. There's a new crocheter in the office, and she was really sweet. Did I show you this? She made me this pineapple, and it's really well done. I mean, look at that. It looks pro. Mm-hmm. I went back to her and said, look, I squeeze the pineapple all the time. And so she's going to go to a new product and put a stress ball in the crochet. And I get to choose a new animal, and I'm choosing a penguin. Oh. So I will be getting a penguin one I can squeeze.
From ABM to PLG, from medic to medpic, the world of business is constantly evolving. We'll cover the who, what, where, when, why, and most importantly, how you get the transaction. I'm Matt Amundson, and he's Craig Rosenberg. Let's get started.
The other thing is for my hat today, you guys, I just got to show you. I got this.
Oh, we love it.
One of the only times in my life where my team that I root for actually won. And it was amazing. 95 UCLA Bruins. Yep. I watched it from a bar in Sevilla, Spain on the farthest end of town at 3 a.m. It was amazing. And I was going nuts, and these guys just wanted to drink their Cruz Campo and smoke cigarettes, and I was just going nuts, man. It was fun. I didn't know what to do. There was no cell phones back then. I got on a payphone and called my mom to tell her. I had nobody to talk to.
The international collect call. I love it.
I didn't know where I was in town. I mean, it was like, I don't know. But those were the memories. We won last night, so I'm very pleased.
Easily.
With that.
Handedly.
Who'd they beat in 1995 for the championship?
They beat the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember who Arkansas's marquee player was in that tournament that year?
Corliss Williams.
Corliss Williams.
Scotty Thurman.
Yeah, Corliss
and
Williams.
Bill Clinton was in a suite because he was a huge Hawks fan. So yes, I do remember vividly. It was amazing. Then I went to the Final Four when we made it. With Kevin Love and those guys, we lost by like 50. We lost by like 50 to Memphis. That hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we lost to Florida in the semis, and then in the championship.
We like to do that. We like to get people really excited and let them down. All right, no sports talk. That's it. I apologize.
March Madness is my favorite time of the year. Did you know that? That's a fun fact.
Oh, we did not know that about you. It's not listed on your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to include that in the intro. So
I'm a big college basketball fan.
How's your bracket?
Doing pretty well so far. So I have a bracket going for men and women because the women's games are amazing too.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, I actually have the women's games are incredible, especially now that we know the players.
They're incredible.
Like, I hate that she goes to USC, but I love Juju Watkins. I have a huge competency crush on Paige Beckers. She's just awesome to watch, so, but the Bruins are good in that too. So we're hoping that, both of them go down and the Bruins win that. That would be cool too. So, all right. So we just got that fun fact. So today's guest is a person I just met, and I've talked to now 25 times since I met her like 3 weeks ago and got her on the pod because she's, amazing energy. Amazing energy. So Anna's background, she did Box and then ServiceTitan, which is a now famous success story in SaaS, and then founded her own company. So she did sales leadership, and then founded her own company. So that's her amazing, well-rounded background, and now is running go-to-market at Pear VC, which is one of the best pre-seed seed funds out there.
Love it.
And so today's guest, which is a new one for Matt, I believe you're meeting Anna for the first time.
Yeah.
So is Anna Leyva. Pronounced correctly?
Hi, guys. Pronounced absolutely. A lot of people get that wrong. A lot of people want to say Leyva because of the way it's spelled, and they think the V is for the A. So you got it absolutely correct. Leyva.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you on. And the other thing that everyone should know is Anna's partnering on the Go-to-Market Summit, Matt. So we're doing it together, and it's been really fun so far. We just literally got started. And she got to go to an AJ Gandhi dinner.
Whoa, omakase?
Oh, yes, omakase. Wow. Yeah, we were at the same table. They're famous now, but he's moving off omakase. That's the word on the street. He's going with new chefs going forward, which will be cool.
Wait,
we'll try some. What's that? Yeah, so I think he's doing a Taiwanese omakase. That should be really interesting. And then I think on the last one he did something more barbecue-ish, right? I'd have to see. Yeah. So we'll see. AJ Gandhi's a friend of the show. He's been on as well. So
just the best.
Now Anna will be at all the different ones as following along as well. So, all right. So Anna, we have 2 questions that guide the show. The first one, two, and I will land this plane. Matt.
I'm confident in that. The question is will you turn the ringer off on your phone?
Oh yeah. You know what? That's a good point. Yeah, hold on one second. Brandon Redlinger asked me to be on his webinar, and he's like, and by the way, no texting, turn off the notification. I can't believe Matt lets you do this. And I'm like, this? What do you mean by this? Anyway, so the first question is, we love to lead with a story. And it's because stories have been the best pickup on the show. And Matt was like, hey, just literally start the show with a story. So we call it the Matt Amundson Feature Enhancement 2.1a. And it is like, tell us a story, a go-to-market story. It could be anything, heroic, sad, funny, whatever that might be. We're going to hand you the mic and let's start there and let's hear your story.
A story. That is so broad. I'm wondering what to share. Tell me some of the most memorable stories you've heard so far, actually. Maybe we'll get my juices flowing I have a similar one or.
Yeah. So I would say maggots falling on people's head out of an airplane. I think that was probably most memorable.
We didn't know what we were going to get from Brent Adamson. And he's like, Craig probably already knows this. It's the maggots on a plane story. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And basically, he was flying back from somewhere and someone on the plane starts freaking out and they just look up and maggots are falling from the overhead. And there's video of it that was on the news with Brent in the back having to evacuate the plane because of all the maggots. So we didn't really expect that.
No.
That is so wild. Okay, I have an airplane story. That's all I needed.
All right, here we go. Airplane story.
Early days of ServiceTitan, a lot of our deal flow was generated at conferences. And so we were flying all over the country doing conferences. It felt like every month, multiple times a month. And I was a new mom. And you guys know women in sales, underrepresented. I was the only woman on the team. First pregnancy, first everything at ServiceTitan. And the team was incredibly accommodating. They let me travel with my baby, with my infant, 1-year-old son, because I was nursing him and nursing had been this big battle for me. So I wasn't ready to give that up. And it was before Stork and all these cool services now that allow you to ship your milk and all the things. So I want to say 20 plus trade shows and conferences with my baby in tow, and my mom, who was my traveling nanny, would come and hang out at the hotel room. Yes, absolutely. Mom, baby, me, and just crushing it at all the conferences, all the trade shows. So that was a big part of my kids. Then I had my daughter did the similar thing, but their early, I always talk about that. Their 0 to 1 journey involved being on the sales grinding with their mommy, which is always fun. So.
That's a great and heartwarming story. I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
So the big question we like to ask, just to give you a little context, the show started because Matt was actually an EIR at scale like 3 years ago. And we were sitting there, these old school dudes. I'm like 20, 30 years older than Matt, but like it's still, we're both old school. And, Matt was like, no, dude, like things have changed. We have to find the new playbook, right? And so we started talking to people, et cetera, but we're having so much fun with it and the banter. And we're like, let's put it in a podcast. So there's two goals. Like one is like, we like broadcasting and showcasing people like yourself. But two is like, can we use this podcast to find the new things that are working and not working, and hear it from people that see it every day? And so the question we ask that is literally the last one, except for other things that sort of come as part of your answer, is what's something that the market thinks they're doing right today? It could be anything, approach, methodology, strategy, and they're actually wrong. And they should be thinking about it differently. And what is that? And what should they do about it? Ready? I'm going to turn off my phone. I guess I did not. And you go.
I loved it. It felt like a special chime that was bringing in.
Yeah, I was like, do we get a soundboard? Surprise.
I know, exactly. I thought it was perfectly timed. I love this question. And I think there's so many things that come up. So in my day-to-day work, I am in the trenches with founders. Early stage, so Pear does pre-seed and seed. So really like figuring out product market fit, as well as what I love the term go-to-market fit, and figuring out like what motion's right for me and for my business. And lots of pet peeves come from that. And, trying to teach, most of our founders are technical, have never done sales before. So I'm basically doing like getting them up to speed with sales fundamentals, marketing fundamentals, grow everything. And often feel like I'm re-educating off of things that they see out there. Like, oh, I read, for example, that personalization is what I have to do in my emails. And so here's my personalized email that I'm planning on sending out. And I am like sick of personalized emails. I'll share more. I think absolutely you have to customize and make your outreach individual and targeted. But I think this blanket idea of personalization has gone wrong, like taken a bad turn into, this is a random fact I found about you on your LinkedIn page, and I'm dropping it in casually in the front, in the first line. And then, by the way, here's a pitch. And it's the whole like pitch slap approach that I think really rubs buyers the wrong way. And so what I talk a lot about to our founders about is, instead of focusing on personalizing, which absolutely you want to do as like, an underlying aspect of the outreach, I think the most important thing you want to actually do is drive value. Like, can you share an insight? Can you share something that will draw this individual to you and say like, that was actually a really smart or interesting way of thinking about it. I never thought about it that way. Or something that will make them want to spend more time with you, that will make them want to give you the time of day. I think people get that wrong so often. They just like personalize and think like, oh, I did it. I checked the box personalization, and they're just doing it the wrong way. So that would be one of my, I would say, most commonly discussed pet peeves with our founders, at least.
So, but you're differentiating personalization, which is, I think the examples you gave were like personal. So that's like, like, for example, the people that write, Craig, you went to UCLA, whatever, or they, exactly. But the insight that you deliver, that's based on what you know about the company. Is that right? So you are still personalizing. You're just not personalizing.
Exactly. It's been like the blanket personalization that people, like the way it's been twisted almost to like, I think hey, you went to UCLA, and if it's put in the email there in a forced way, you can tell it's forced, and it's kind of makes you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit, right? Like, I don't know when the last time you received an email like that, but I received emails like this when I'm moving in, right? And I think it's beyond like an insight. I know about a little bit about the business. I think it's more that founders have a unique perspective. Given all the customer conversations that they're having, there are insights. If they're not getting to a point of like having some unique perspective, then I think like, oh, maybe should you be building this? Like, you need to really be pursuing sort of that thought leadership expertise And if you can't get to that point and if you don't have anything to share to your market, that would be the most concerning piece. I'm like, let's focus on that. Let's get you to some unique insights, synthesizing all the things that you're learning from these customer conversations. And then in the outbound, offer a perspective, right? Like I had a conversation with so-and-so, you can, again, as a founder, be writing this. And this came up, probably relevant for you too. And this is why you should spend more time with me. That, I'm not saying like that's the right structure for an outbound, but something that, again, gets beyond what everybody can do, by the way. And now with AI, it's getting easier to do like a blanket search of an individual. Tell me what they might be interested in. That's just not going to stand out anymore. And frankly, I think is the wrong thing to be like reaching out to people in what feels like a really dehumanized way when personalization was supposed to get us to a more human approach. So I'm all about the insight-driven outreach rather than personalization. So I wouldn't even call it personalization. I think it's like, that's the wrong blanket statement. Hot take. I know it's a hot take because everybody says you got to personalize.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, there was a delay, and I believe it might have been Matt. It could have been Sam. Did a heavy breathe. Was that you, Matt? Were you exhaling?
No, I was just thinking of my thoughts here because I think I totally agree with what you're saying, Anna. I think the probably the place to go just slightly deeper here is how do you sort of pull that out, right? Like there's a couple of different ways to demonstrate that you have unique insight on the space that maybe they don't have. And, we've had like Chris Orlob on the show, and his sort of take is like, if you're selling to a CRO, you're like, hey, I talk to, 20 plus CROs a week. And one thing that I consistently hear is like, 3 years ago, they were having no trouble getting their AEs to quota. They were hitting their quarterly goals on a pretty regular basis. And now things have changed and they're not really able to get there. And if you're experiencing this, I'd love to, give you a sort of my take on how to solve for it. If you're not, then congratulations. You're sort of, you're on to either raising the next round or taking your company public. Is it something to that effect, or is it more like, hey, the one thing that, company XYZ has discovered is that 99% of companies are suffering from this, and the fastest way to solve it is by doing this, and let me explain to you why if you have 15 minutes. Like how do you sort of take that idea, which I think is correct, and start to put it into actual practice?
Yeah. I love it. And I think I honestly feel like this is the work of a founder. The work of a founder is taking the time to sort of step back and synthesize, right? Mm-hmm. And create the map of what no customer is going to be able to tell you and articulate it perfectly, right? But you're having all of these, again, touch points, and you're deep in the industry and connecting with all these people. And I think the work of the founder is to step back and synthesize. And so it can look different, right? Depending on who, even the persona that you're reaching out to. Sure. But I think ultimately some reframe of like, this is, again, a challenge that you've had. Here's how you're thinking about it the wrong way. And you, of course, wouldn't say that in an email, but you want to offer a reframe. And actually, Jen Allen Knuth, who was amazing, I recently had her on our webinar series, Winning Wednesdays. She articulates this so perfectly. Like, you think that not having an umbrella is costing you this amount, but actually you're thinking about it the wrong way. And this is the big, again, in the insight of like, you are leaving so much on the table with this. If you agree, let's chat. Mm-hmm. So it's more like a reframe, I'd say, like, an offering a perspective and a hot take even, like we're talking about hot takes right now, but a sense of like a challenge to how they've been thinking about it. So I don't have like a perfect email formula of like, this is what you should do instead. But I think it's the spirit of challenging and saying, I'm somebody who you should talk to. I'm somebody worth your time, mm-hmm. right? Or my company is worth your attention and time because we have this unique new way of solving a pain that you're really, viscerally dealing with today.
So you would do, if you combine Matt and yours, and we were taking your, basically the lead of the show is a reframe. And you would say, hey, Matt, as you go through your pipeline efforts and try to figure out what's working, what's not working, I'm sure you've heard from the market that they think personalization works. But actually, what we've found in working with thousands of different prospecting machine, organizations, that actually personalization doesn't work. And what we've found is that, delivering the, organizational insights, relevant organizational insights to a prospect actually is better, right? And will achieve higher conversion. We'd love to talk to you about what we're seeing would be the right email there. What do you think of that? That was pretty good.
Not bad.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, thank you,
I like
Anna.
that.
Anna, thank you for being on the show. Matt just sat there. I was so hurt. Sometimes he nods and it makes me feel better. Wait, that you didn't nod. I think that's great, actually. So
I really like that.
Wait,
One thing I have to call out.
His indignation froze his internet connection.
When he was indignant, it froze. All right, go ahead, Anna. Sorry.
When you said would love to, I always give my founders a hard time on the would love to, because of course you would. It's not about you. So just working on that last piece of the ask and the call to action there, to something that, again, for maybe even a question, like, do you think it'd be valuable to spend some time on a call?
Yeah.
Love sit it back in there. Yeah. Just all about that end user. And I think even to the point of what you said earlier, this idea of founders wanting a playbook, like just come in the playbook, or there is we're living this really exciting time where new playbooks are being written. And truly the approach that we take at Pear is every founder is rewriting a playbook, right? Or figuring things out. Things are always changing in markets. And so it is a dynamic. You take frameworks and best practices, and yet I can't tell a founder, go do this, and that's going to work, right? It's this iterative, experimental process. And if a founder doesn't have that approach of like, okay, I'm pioneering, I am, again, need to figure out my insights, need to figure out what I uniquely can add to this market. If they don't have that bandage, I think they're already, behind.
Yeah.
So you really need to have first that mindset of like, I'm pioneering, I'm building, I'm figuring out, I'm leaning in. And that's my favorite type of founder to work with, hands down.
Yeah, I love that, actually. So I do have a comment to make on that, and I'm not sure to bring it up now.
Bring it up now.
Okay. All right. Thanks. That delay was to receive encouragement. I'm going to go back to follow up on, but most in tech, I'm going to say all, this is my hot take. In tech, all revolutionary go-to-market strategies and tactics start with the small VC-backed companies, the seed Series A folks. Here's why. One, they got nothing. Like they can't lean on brand. So they got to go figure out how to go do this without that. Number two, they're more likely to be tech forward. So they're going to try the tech stuff first, right? And those two things combined often lead to these. So like if you take, by the way, CRM, if you're old like me and saw Salesforce was just racking up wins in the SMB, and it was all San Francisco. I remember the first segment cut someone was telling me about at Salesforce. They cut up the city blocks in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's where the game was played. Sales engagement platforms. That was SMB mid-market, Marketo mid-market. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of really creative marketing stuff from that came from the mid-market.
Sure.
I would even argue SEM, SEO was from like early growth hacking, less so big folks. And now we're hearing all the stories on what works from outbound perspective are not coming from the veterans. They're coming from like Anna's crew of founders who are like, dude, I got to get meetings. Like I'm reading all your crap and here's what I'm doing. Is that?
Yeah, I love that. No, 100%, Craig. And honestly, it's probably what's most exciting to me about my job is just that feeling of like we're building the future, right? In many ways, more than one way. I don't know if you saw Jason Lumpkin's recent post that Stevie Case also commented on or shared. about SMB, selling in the SMB segment is underrated because people, want to, like, it's flashier to sell enterprise and mid-market. But if you're in the SMB world, you're getting so many more at-bats that you just have that many more opportunities to test, like you said, to get better. You're getting all these reps in, right? And so if you're in the SMB world or doing these quick deals on the ground, certainly, you are just getting better at a faster clip than these long enterprise cycles that take forever. And you're like, oh, in 6 months, I'll know if I did something wrong. But like right now, I'm not sure. I thought that was so insightful. And I think it was this week that they're talking about that. So you're right on the money, Craig. I couldn't agree more.
Oh, it's good to be right on the money once in a while.
Yeah. Broken clock's right twice a day.
The clock thing is a sore subject with me and Matt. When I was late to a recording and we were talking about like Christmas gifts, I believe, and he offered to buy me a clock for Christmas. So yeah, that was
because he got me such a good Christmas gift, and I still maybe Easter. Here we go.
All right. Well,
what did he get you? Now I want to know.
Oh, I wore it on a couple episodes. He got me this really nice hooded sweater. It's like a sweater, but it was hooded. It's so nice. I wear it whenever I want to relax.
Yeah. I got it my wife's hairdresser's son does, Spider Essentials, like all the cool gear. He works at a store, but he'll go grab stuff out of the back, not illegally anybody. He brings it back, but he brings it to our house and the kids look at it. And I saw this Essentials sweater hoodie. I'm like, dude, Matt, this is right up Matt's alley.
That's right.
And so I'm like, I'll take it with the very minuscule discount he gave me. And then when my wife's like, well, you need one. So I bought one. Thankfully we haven't worn it at the same time.
I didn't know we were matching.
Did you just subtly drop that you have like a pop-up store in your house? How do you do that? Like at home shopping?
Oh man, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I just kind of dropped that. All right. So going back to this idea, I love this insight-driven prospecting. So you and I'm just thinking, so what I would want to do, let's just all brainstorm here, is pull the insights out of the founder's head and put it into the hands of sales and SDRs in order to execute what you're doing. And there's two reasons for that, right? One is, with all due respect to my friends in sales and SDRs, the insights you decide to use are often terrible. It's true, right? But the founder who's living, breathing, and eating this stuff and out there having these conversations is finding true insights. So what we want to be able to do is take things out of the founder's head. Now, I'll give you an example of what we did at Topo. They would meet with me and they created just a spreadsheet of insights. And what they would do is they'd say, I forget what it looked like. We'd have to ask Scott for that. And it was like scenario. And then they'd be like, give us a hard-hitting insight. And then it was like, is this data? Is this quantitative quality? Because we were a research company. And they sort of built this library of insights or snippets. I forget what they called it. That was an example of something I've seen. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because we want to be able to, as we scale even a little bit outside of just founder-led selling, we want to be able to pull it out of their heads and get into the hands of the people that are prospecting. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I'll let the guests go first. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, I have a thought. I think I love that example, Craig. And I think one way that I've been helping founders crystallize those insights, because they're living in their head and it's hard to organize. But one question that I've asked is, look, if you were to go out and start the business in the market that you're selling, so whatever it is, like whoever their buyer is, if you're going to go in and be that person or start a business in that, how would you win? What have you learned from speaking to all of these people that would help you stand out? Like, what unique perspective, right, have you gleaned that could help you win in their seat. And when thinking about it that way, when sort of like taking off their founder hat, like, oh, I'm building this tool, it's really cool and sexy, to, oh, now I'm my user. What would I do to win, whatever it is, get a promotion, like be good in that role of the buyer. That has helped. I've seen helped our founders be like, here's what it is. Like currently my users are thinking this way, and this is what I would do differently, or this would be my unique approach based on what I've seen. So I don't know how they got all the insights out of you, Craig, but that's been for me and for our founders one of the cool ways of like helping them come to terms with all the things that they're seeing. Is
that's great.
Really saying like, tomorrow you wake up, you're in that role. What are you doing differently?
That's really smart. That is a really, really smart way of thinking about it. You know, one of the things about the company that I work for currently is we sell to a lot of seed stage and A-round companies. And, you know, they typically, you know, they don't always stand out from like a category perspective. I think we have we're probably, our install base is heavily oriented towards AI startups, obviously, just because there are so many right now. But thinking through like, oh, if I was to start an AI company and I was going to use the product that we create, how would that help me? You know, and then I think synthesizing that down into core benefits is something that's just a really smart way of thinking about how do we actually talk about the product. And obviously, you know, you may change that depending upon the category that somebody's in, but that I think is, man, that was really insightful.
How do you guys figure out insights right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends upon where you are in your growth stage, because I think one of the things that's challenging for like the early go-to-market team to work with the CEO on is like that CEO is like just incredibly busy, right? Like he or she is dealing with a board, trying to raise capital, worried about finance, worried about operations, overhead, a million things. And so they will always tell you, yeah, I'm here for you. Like, let's schedule some time. And we all know inevitably that time like pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes. I know this isn't like something super amazing, but I think, you know, if you still have a CEO who's heavily involved in the selling process, you know, sort of mining out, if you have like Gong or some other call recording platform, just going in and listening to the way that person sells. Because oftentimes, like if you sort of pinpoint them into a corner, or if you pin them down in a corner and you're like, hey, what are the things that are most beneficial to you? They sort of struggle, right? Because they're like, yeah, I'm really good on my feet. And I think the thing that they don't often realize is they end up saying the same thing over and over and over again. But like in these like weird hypothetical situations, it's hard to extract that value from their brain. But like if they're a seller, they're talking about it all the time on the phone. And they think that they're often reading and reacting to what the prospect is saying, but so often the prospect is saying the same things over and over again. So I think there's this interesting sort of illusion in the early stage of business that like, oh, we sell to all different types of companies with all different kinds of problems. You probably don't, right? There's subtle nuance that exists there. You know, maybe they have a different infrastructure, they're on a different cloud provider, or like whatever. But the reality is like they're all trying to solve for the same problem. And so, you know, pulling that out of Gong is always really easy, right? Because the search functions work really, really well there. That was always my big hack when I had Gong. I'm at a company that doesn't have Gong, and the Gong sellers know it, hence all the emails about going to UCLA. But yeah, that is a very, very powerful tool, and it's a real like just get to the places where your CEO is speaking and it's been recorded. Don't try to. I mean, it's great to get time on their calendar, but like don't overwhelm them. They've got a million things that they're worried about, like, and they're leaving a digital trail for you to pick up. Just pick it up and run with it.
And I mean, when we help founders all the way from like a founder in the seat of sales and growth all the way through expansion, we have a really great talent team that will help them hire and find their first salespeople. And even in that process, you know, we always advise, look for somebody who is a rep that's going to be able to extract from you, not just like follow the playbook that you've written, but also like build on it, right? Like notice something about your process, founder, that you yourself haven't even noticed, right? They can bring kind of their sales expertise and background and say, oh, I know you, this is what you're doing. Like you always mention this, or this is how you handle that objection. And yeah, there's this, founders don't even know what they're doing often, right? And so that's why they need a team around them to say, this is part of what is helping and moving the deal forward. And So yeah, I couldn't agree more, Matt.
I think the other thing too is like, if you want to be a great employee to your CEO, like show up with, hey, this is what I think it should be. And the reason why is, I listen to your calls, or I talk to, 50% of our customers, or, I've been working really closely with the customer success team. Show up with a hypothesis and let them tell you if it's correct or incorrect. That just goes such a long way, right? Especially, if you're a new hire, if you're new to a business, like, don't just try to only extract value from them. Like, hey, tell me all the answers, right? Because, that's exhausting. We know that on a daily basis, whether it's with our own teams or if you're a parent, like, you got people asking you for the answers all the time, right? And you just get to this point where you get fatigued by it. But if you can show up and say, hey, you know what? The last 10 deals that we closed, I heard this was mentioned on the call, and it seems like, it's something that could be a really compelling talk track for us to start incorporating into our broader messaging, into our sales cycles, into, our BDR approach, into our, ads, whatever, tell me if you think I'm correct.
Yeah, I love that. That's an A player, right? When you're building an A team, you're bringing in people like that, not people that are just like, be able to do what you tell them, but really be able to help co-create. That's what founders are looking for. Absolutely.
Craig, if you wouldn't mind, I have some questions just about, her day to day, if that's okay.
Clarence.
Thank you.
Roger.
Yeah. Oh, Robert. So, when you're working with your portfolio companies, obviously they sort of range into lots of different categories. But as you're thinking about like building out the first go-to-market strategies, I'm curious to get your opinion on like, what is the foundation from which you start to grow everything off of? It's varied from I think things go in and out of the zeitgeist, but like, is our focus on SEO? Is our focus on great messaging? Is our focus on, being customer centric? Like, how are you starting to put together the puzzle pieces, and like, what's the corner that you start with?
Yeah, so good. That's such a good question.
Thank you.
I think one of the corners that I love starting with that is unique is I talked a lot with my founders about discipline, and I'll explain what I mean. I tell our founders that they're writing this epic story. They are going to come into a market and transform how things are done today and make their buyer the heroes of their orgs, and they're writing this epic narrative. And it's their job to figure out who the protagonists are going to be. And so when they are, figuring out like, who are my buyers and what's my ICP and what's the right motion, I want our founders to think of themselves in a very active role of choosing who their protagonists are going to be. So literally saying, you're not finding your first users, you're choosing them. And so what that means, and why I go back to discipline is being able to tell the wrong fit, the wrong people, someone who is not going to get value from your tool. It's your willingness to say, no, thank you for taking the call with me. I don't think this is going to drive value for you. So let's not have a next step.
Yeah.
But I think founders, you get a step of like, you can get in this place of desperation where you're just like, I just need users. And so you want to say yes to everyone. And that's the wrong way to build. And so I'd say one of the most important cornerstones is the discipline to say no to people who won't be absolutely obsessed with what you're going to be delivering to them. Because especially early on, I always tell our founders, you're selling for the renewal.
Yeah.
You're not selling for the initial close, you're selling for the renewal. And if you don't feel conviction that this person's going to be so obsessed with your product that they're going to want to absolutely renew in a year or tell everybody they know about you, then it's not the right protagonist.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Say no, and let's find another. So, I spend so much time with our founders talking about discipline.
I love that. There is always this, obviously there's the urge to try to close everything that comes to you, right? And try to build this compelling case, sometimes out of thin air. I think there's also like that discipline probably extends even further out, right? Like, don't go multi-product too early. Don't try to sell to multiple ICPs too early, right? Like, the number of early stage companies that I've talked to who are like, yeah, we're building this for sales and marketing. And I'm just like, no, like that's the two people you definitely don't want to build this for.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, you're building it for neither. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't do the Pert Plus. Do a shampoo and conditioner.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
It feels super.
What just happened?
I think it's really hard for founders because they want so much to get to scale. And they, I feel like I hear this all the time from founders too. It's like, I'm doing this, but I don't think it'll scale. It's like, you're not, especially early stage, we're not super like focused on scale. We're focused on customer obsession. Like you need to really find that first. And then once you have that, boom, like I would tell them, I'm like, eventually you'll sell to whoever else. That's like chapter 10 though. We're on chapter 1.
Right.
So let's just choose this protagonist right now. Be disciplined of like remembering I'm in chapter 1.
Yeah.
And then chapter 10, it'll come.
Yeah.
You'll be ready for it. But you need to get chapter 1 right if you want to ever write a chapter 10.
Yeah. Love that.
Matt, do you have more? You said you had questions.
Yeah, I think I rattled off like 3-ish there, but
oh, did you? Oh, I didn't. I was. I
you kind of zoned out.
No, I was more focused on the guests' insightful answers than I was on your question abilities.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I do these things. So, but I just want to go back to two things because I was going to ask you about, you said targeting when you talked about, the anecdote to just ridiculous personalization. And then you and Matt just had this conversation now. This is like, in my opinion, it is one of it. People are surprised because their first instinct to do better at prospecting is to send more to more people. But actually, the more that you isolate who you go after, you see better results.
Yes.
Like we had Scott Barker on. He's like, yeah, if I really needed leads, I would actually go to people and say, you have 100 target accounts. Now you have 4. And he's like, and they would get the meetings. What's your experience in helping people? I know you just kind of talked about it. Well, actually you did talk about it, but I want to double down here because this is a point that I think we need to make here. And I just want to say one other thing before you answer. Because, I wrote so much stuff on ABM and Matt spoke on the ABM. I don't want you to call it anything anymore, guys. It's better to target.
Yeah.
It just is. And it for a lot of reasons. By the way, the customer obsession, which is at the tail end of what Anna said, it's very hard to do if you have 6,000 different use cases.
Totally.
Actually, there's no such thing. So anyway, Anna, back to you. Please respond.
I'm getting lost in that. The question that you're asking is...
I didn't ask.
Sorry.
I was setting a scenario up and getting your guy. Did I ask a question?
I'm not sure.
But
I don't know if I caught it. I'm sorry. I was like Jim. I was tracking with you. Yes.
And then I kept talking. That's, you guys, that is an example of selling past the close.
Yeah.
I am like one... I always give when I listen to calls, I always give salespeople that feedback, and then I am the biggest culprit. I mean, it is nuts. Okay, what do you do to help people get into the targeting mindset versus the everyone concept?
It's hard. It's literally like talking our founders off the ledge because they come and they're like, I heard I have to send 6,000, or like I've heard conversions are to cold emails are going to be like 1%. And they're terrified. They're like, okay, so if I want to get this many leads, then I need to send 10,000 this week. Can you help me? I'm like, let's revisit. And, often am having the conversation of you got to go narrow, focus, small in order to win. It's not this, you're not doing a spray and pray. It's not going to work. And how do I get them to do it? Honestly, it's like, asking them, let's just try it for a week, right? Let's focus on, again, you have 100, let's go to 4, let's try, and working side by side with them and figuring out, tailoring that outreach message. So literally this week working with founders on many different sequences of like, okay, this is the right message, and me providing them, again, bringing the insight, me providing sort of best practices and frameworks on like, is this email, for example, 50 to 75 words, like all the best practices that we know, but helping the founder insert the insights that, again, uniquely they're positioned to bring to the fore. So it's a lot of just trust me, and then it works, and then they're bought in, but it's a lot of talking people off the ledge, Craig, because I think it is like they feel like this is the way to do outbound, and it's like, well, no, and a lot of people are doing it that way. It's not working, right? And let's please not do it that way.
100%. I'm gonna throw this to you guys. The phone, we're hearing a lot of good feedback on calling. What are you, Anna, or no?
I've had a hard time getting founders. I'm going to be honest. I'm just getting founders to do a lot of cold calling. I think they're not used to it. They've never done the SDR thing. It feels awkward, and yet I think cold calling still works. I think it still works. It's not the first thing that we go to, though.
No.
I'll be 100% transparent. We're mainly doing outreach on email and LinkedIn is what I'm seeing from my founders. But I have, advised founders. I never force them, but I've advised them. I say, hey, if you're seeing that people are opening your email and they're not responding, and you want to follow up, like, try a call. Right? Like Apollo gives you email and phone number for a reason. Like, try a call. I still think I'm still a believer, but I don't know. What are you guys saying?
Probably not for founders. It's hard,
right?
But for SDRs in certain markets, like I talked to a guy who does, IT infrastructure, and I asked him what's working. He's like, nothing except calling. Because email is absolutely dead in this market. Like you have, and so... Yeah, I don't know, Matt. Are your guys calling? Or?
Yeah. Most of the meetings that we book are over the phone.
Look at that.
That's amazing.
I actually asked a question that yielded results. Yeah. I mean,
I just have to for my founders. I'm wondering, because you guys are like probably not going to work for founders. Why? Is it just because it takes a certain amount of reps, or like why? I'm curious to get your take on if this is somewhere where I should really like double down with our founders, or just.
I
expect
don't.
it.
Yeah, I don't think you should. I don't think you should.
Say more. I'm just really curious to hear why.
I would say at this stage of the business that you work with founders, one of the things that's most important is that they have confidence. And there is nothing that will blow your confidence apart than somebody telling you to, go jump in a lake after a phone call, right? Like it is really easy to ignore emails and in-mails and also give people really oh, I think that's great, but now's not the right time, right? Like calling is time consuming, and calling is fraught with really negative answers that aren't actually indicative of the product as a whole. It's more just you're meeting somebody where they don't want to be met, and they're going to be, in a lot of cases, overly harsh for no real reason. And I think you want a founder to believe that they are building the next billion-dollar organization, and dealing with negative feedback that frequently, I don't think is healthy for a founder. They have enough on their plate as it is, and going to that place is sure, in one in every 100 connects, or maybe one in every 25 connects, you're going to turn it into a meeting, and that might make them feel really good. But it's the 24 where you don't even get through your pitch. It's just somebody's just mad that you're calling them. I don't think they need that level of stress.
Yeah. And the smartest guy in the room doesn't win in the cold call.
No.
There's too much technique up front that requires training, beatdowns, etc. But I will, fun fact, one of the biggest founder cold callers was Matt's old boss, Phil Fernandez. And I have a funny anecdote on that. So nothing will surprise anybody on this call, but at Tippett, we were customer number 4 or something of Marketo. And I moved desks. So I had to handle it. I moved desks and I left my phone. We didn't have IT. So I forgot I had a phone at Tippett. We got bought, and our acquirers doing their thing in the integration, hey, does Craig Rosenberg want to check his messages? I'm like, what messages? They're like, his phone has been full for 4 years. And there was, whatever amount of messages there were, 25% were from Phil. 25%. the guy went after it. He was doing all the techniques. He was calling me before work, during, after. I mean, it was incredible. So anyway, fun fact there. He may deny it if this goes on LinkedIn, but he did, because he was, by the way, that guy was one of the better sales founders of all time.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, he was amazing. He wasn't going to back down to anybody. But no, look, guys, like here's the thing. One is, the great thing for prospectors is that with AI role play and AI phone, the fact that buyers are responding to phone, you're in better shape than you've ever been in the history of BDRing, SDRing, without a doubt. That's not appropriate for founders. It's like, if they say, F you, here's what you say. We need the 23-year-old kid doing that. And so is it the right thing if your market responds to it? For sure. It's just not, I don't think it's for founders. That was what a great redirect on my question. I love that, Anna. Thank you. Just making it happen. Clearly a sales leader for a long time in her life. Yeah.
Really, asked me to be co-host to this, and I'm honored.
Yeah,
I'm retiring.
We've been trying, Sam and I have been trying to get rid of Matt for a while. So Anna, thank you for that generous offer. We've just been looking for the right candidate. All right. Well, this was a great show. We had a lot of fun. And we were able to talk to, Matt and I are we're deep into tactics that work. So it was really fun to get in the weeds here with you and to have you on the show. And, let's do it again sometime.
Thanks for having me, guys. This has been fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. It was a blast to have you on. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Transaction. Craig and I really appreciate the fact that you've listened all the way to the end. What are you actually doing here? For show notes and other episodes, please visit us at thetransactionpod.com. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you get your podcast from. Either you have walked away from your podcast device, or this is playing somewhere in the background. Someone in your house would really like for you to shut this off now.